Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. In today's episode, we're talking about scaling your business, but with invisible employees. That's my title, not our guest title. I just made that up on the spot. But we're going to talk about scaling your business using innovation, AI, tech, all the fun things. And we're going to do it all in like 15 minutes. So buckle up, get ready. Ken Cox, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Brandon. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
I already made you chuckle. That's a win in my book. Why is invisible employees so funny?
I hadn't considered it being invisible. My life has been in the data center, so I look at computers and AI as very tangible, real things.
Yeah, they're very real when they take up warehouse space and they jack your AC bill through the roof, I'm sure.
Absolutely, they do.
So let's dive in here because this is a hot topic these days. AI has been on the block for a couple of years now, but now we're talking about actually replacing people with AI, which everybody said last year, AI will not replace people. But this is a little bit awkward because I think we're replacing people now. So where should we start with this conversation?
Well, I don't think we're replacing people, but we're taking highly automatable processes away from the individual so that they can work on better workloads, right? Something that is more new lines of thought instead of the same line of thought over and over and over. And AI employees are doing that phenomenally. And, we've made a lot of mistakes over the past 2 years with deploying and trying to use AI employees. I think, one big misconception when you think about an AI employee is that they don't need a manager. They do. They absolutely need a manager, right? So somebody's still got to be watching over them, making sure that everything's going and creating a set of, key performance indicators for those AI employees or agents. I like calling them employees because they're starting to do real workload inside my business. Text messaging back and forth with potential clients or clients for tech support. Those things today are very, very achievable at a very real rate that almost any business owner can afford to get started, understand it, and learn. I think people are afraid of that learning curve, right? On how do I set these employees, these up, and how do I let them off in the wild? And you really need an interface that you can manage all your different AI employees and different tasks as well.
Yeah, I think, when you say replacing employees, sorry, I said that. Let me clarify that. Maybe not. I heard a story recently where Facebook and possibly Twitter, don't quote me on that, are not hiring any more software engineers this year. They're replacing all coding with AI agents. And they did not say they're firing people or there's any layoffs. They just said they're not hiring any new. So what you're saying, where we need to manage AI and do QA on the output, essentially, is going to be a much higher level task that frees the human being. So I think this is a good conversation. This is a good development in the world of AI and computing and employment. However, I think a lot of small business owners and entrepreneurs, who is the audience of this show, have a tendency to see a shiny new object and say, that'll replace 4 people. Let me fire them and go pay $500 a month. And then their output is crap. So talk about this learning curve with me. Like where should we get started with implementing agents? What's a ballpark price we should consider? And maybe give us an example of a couple of tasks that we can start with in that price range.
Right. So the 2 big ones that come to mind are in the SMS world, right? Especially for a small business owner that maybe has 3 to 5 employees, being able to answer calls with a text back and then having somebody that can answer basic questions at the middle of the night for my staff is a job that's very easy to set up. If you've got your pricing structure and those things, you keep the scope narrow and, hey, this AI knows this thing. And, you kind of have an orchestrator that tells, different phone numbers. If they text this phone number, then that's the AI that's going to know about pricing and things like that. So keeping the scope narrow for each individual agent that you deploy. Pricing, I think you're looking $350 a month, $400 a month, anywhere in that. For a lot of agents, you can start at InLink. We've got a package for the $97. You can get started, but it's like 2 cents per transaction for a chatter, or 5 cents per transaction for I pick up the phone and answer, and I have my AI answering questions for somebody that calls in. So they're that first line. But you can set the call routing up that if they ask a specific question, get them transferred to a human as soon as possible. I agree with the same thing with chat. If somebody's asking for a human, or they imply that, hey, is this an AI? Be honest about it. Don't tell people that they're chatting with a real person if they're chatting with AI. Even if you name it something like, hey, I'm your AI agent. You want to talk to somebody, let me know and I'll transfer you right away. I think is, to me, the number one thing a small business can do to help their users understand, hey, I'm deploying AI, I'm using it. We still have real people behind this that are here to support you. I think that's just the home run. I want my fast, quick questions answered, and an AI is perfect for that. And in a conversational way that can rephrase it for you if you need it rephrased, right? Versus the old way of, I ask a specific question, I got a specific answer back, and there was no conversational flow. And employees are doing a really great job of that today.
Yeah, I was actually playing with one last night. It was I was looking into some software program, and they said very clearly on the website, interact with our AI agent, send us an email, and have a conversation with it. And I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. I've never seen that. Let me try it out. And the emails were, they were well written. It was conversational. It felt like a real person, and they answered my question. But they, just like you said, it was driving me not forcefully, but suggesting that I get on a call with an actual human being. Gave me the calendar link and everything.
Right.
And it was so well done that I didn't feel like I was talking to a robot necessarily. I didn't feel like I was having a lesser experience just because it was AI.
Right.
And I think that's what people, maybe there's a misconception out there about, is AI going to ruin my business? Is it going to say something wrong? But talking about that, how people can train the AI to actually be a great representation of your business.
Yeah. So I was dealing with one of the verticals that I deal with is mobile vehicle people. So a lot of low voltage cable guys, auto glass repair people. Like, I deal with a lot of them, and we started deploying these bots. And I have some that are bilingual and some that aren't. And at some point, in the non-bilingual, somebody started chatting to it in Spanish, and the AI said, "Oh, I know Spanish," and started. So now they are on this tangent of a Spanish-speaking staff person, right? Even though it's AI, it was a little cumbersome when they didn't have anybody there to speak Spanish. And now the customer's like, "Oh, I'm being supported in my native language. This is wonderful." But there was no handoff. So knowing that, hey, you are only English speaking is a really good thing to teach it. And if the dialect does get off, accommodate, but get back to English and say, hey, I'm not a very well versed in Spanish. I might know a couple of words, but those kinds of tricks are important to know about. And luckily, we jumped on the AI board right away. As soon as, we've been doing this stuff for a long time, and we've been through a lot of those little bit of hurdles.
No hablo español.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. Could you imagine if the sales agent actually gets the handoff and then has to pull up Google Translate on their phones, I
think that problem's gone in 2 or 3 years. I really do. But it's still a little cumbersome today, translating the languages back and forth. But I think it's right around the corner.
Yeah. Now, what about voice too? Because that's an interesting one that I heard. I was sitting with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and he was showing me he's got AI voice in his business, and it sounded very natural, but also really polite and pleasant. And that's how I knew it was AI. But how can we how can we start to incorporate AI voice? Is that Is that a bigger learning curve, bigger barrier to entry than just the text and
So
chat?
inbound voice, the typical what we used to call an interactive voice recording, an IVR, like you call in, like thank you for calling, press 1 for this, press 2 for that.
Mhm.
I think is going to change wildly over the next year. But right now, having an AI employee answering the phone on your behalf and directing that phone call it's built in, it's ready to go. There are some tools that you can do outbound calling. We're hoping to have those out by second quarter of this year. So May or June, July, somewhere in there. But there's some legalities there. And we need to make sure that we're not, having AIs that are doing aggressive outbound calling. But things like appointment setting and, sending the email reminders and the text message reminders, maybe even calling out and saying, hey, this is so-and-so. You've got an appointment coming up. Do you plan on making it, kind of thing? We think is out in 6 months from now, but inbound calling is there today.
Yeah. You don't mean cold calling, do you?
No, just outbound calling. We don't have ready yet
Okay.
because we need to make sure that we don't allow for outbound cold calling. It's not legal to do. So we
That's what
need,
I mean. Yeah, I was gonna say if that becomes a thing with AI agents, I'm throwing my phone in a lake because I just
yeah.
don't.
So
I would never want to pick it
we
up.
need to have protective measures in place that the AIs don't abuse it and the humans don't abuse it as well, which is probably the more likely case.
It's always the
Uh,
humans.
yeah, but having an AI being able to call out to to an appointment that's coming up and saying, "Hey, I noticed that there's a conflict on your calendar. Do you want to change this or something along those lines?" I think would be very, very valuable. All the bugs are not worked out, and the stopgaps and the mitigating risk is not there. So, but an agent that can answer the phone and then direct it internally is absolutely ready now.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I want to shift gears and let's talk about the business owner, the entrepreneur that's going to be implementing this tech.
Right.
Um, we talked about the barrier to entry. We talked about the potential to be fearful of new technology. What are some things if I'm a Main Street business owner? What are some roles or some tasks or things going on in my business today that I would want to look at first to implement AI agents with?
I think the first thing for the business owner, he's going to think about. I think they all have this. Um, I spend a lot of money to get leads. I think my sales team's following up on them, but I'm not 100% sure. And I don't have a good way to do that. Would be to have the follow-up sequence kind of automated all the way out, use an AI employee to help you figure those things out. And then the follow-up cadence and making sure that when somebody does get into your funnel, right, you have a process involved that's going to go out for a long time, and then place those in the right categories, right? When to follow up with them. Should I call? Should I text? Those kinds of things get lost because humans chase what's right in front of them. That's what we're chasing. And the leads that are 3-6 months old, we forget to follow up on a lot. So having agents that are long-term following up on your old leads, I think is important. By either getting them in or out of the system so that you know what you're working on, or keeping them just engaged in your brand. I think those
Mhm.
are good AI employees to get started with.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute because I hear that a lot on this show with guests, and we have a number of guests who have helped with lead gen, sales, marketing, and while that's valuable for a business, what I think a lot of entrepreneurs overlook is the process and the system behind the lead gen, the marketing, the sales, whatever it is.
Right.
So what should we look for in our businesses, or what should we look to optimize so that we know plugging in an agent is actually going to be effective rather than just looking at all these shiny tools, hitting purchase now and think we're buying a magic bullet?
Right. So that's one of the things that I love so much about InLink, and we put as many tools in there as we possibly could. I think that we live in a world where software development has been democratized and intelligence as a whole has been democratized. This stuff is very, very affordable. So, um, if I think that now a business owner should absolutely have 100% of their marketing in house. They should not be hiring out. For the past 5 years, it's been very common to hire out an agency. I'm going to hire the agency and they're going to go. Well, they don't really know the ins and outs of what my business is and what the heart of my business is, because it's the owner, it's the operators, it's the people in there every single day. That's what makes their business magical to their customers. And I think that's so important to own that marketing. And that's really what InLink is all about, is owning that marketing stream and not having the agency do it for you anymore. But get started and tread lightly and go slow and build piece by piece, and then build that up and have a platform that you can build over time is really what it is. Because you got to build this whole orchestration inside your company for the marketing and the operations and everything else. And InLink is a tool to help you do that. But if you went in and said, hey, I'm going to implement like SAP or something like that, like this high-end Fortune 100 stuff, those deployments take years, and the ERP systems and all that. And when they're all done, they work really well. But bolting on one piece at a time within that small business, I think, is the way to go. And having a partner that's going to be there for you to do that, that has both objective and subjective workloads built in, right? I need contract management. Okay, that's built in. That's just the module. But I need a funnel created. Okay, here's a funnel, but the ins and outs of that, you're going to use your AI employee, lean on them to help you build that.
I like it. Have a sounding board, have an expert, and measure and test.
And repeat.
Please.
Define what failure means to you.
Yeah,
right?
No, I like it.
This didn't work. It didn't work for how long? Those kinds of things it's a very, very subjective world in entrepreneurship and running your business. There's a lot of fundamental tools that you just need: calendaring, contract management, DocuSign, secure email, secure collaboration. Those are all the things that you have to have. Our tool has all those things. And then there's the creativity stuff that is you that brings that to the table.
I like it. I'm going to toss your website here on the screen if you want to go check out inlink.com/Soho. Links down below if you're listening to the episode. If you are listening, you also missed out on Ken's shirt. So I encourage you to come over to YouTube and watch the episode, at least watch the clips. His shirt is on fire. He's killing it. Ken, last question before I let you go. The most important question. You said AI is going to run you, AI agents are going to run you maybe $350 to $500 a month, somewhere in there. What are you spending on health insurance, vision, and dental for these agents?
Nothing.
Oh, no way. This is crazy. Okay, I had to throw that in there. I'm really sorry for the bad joke. But yeah. Ken, thank you so much for being here. Where else can the listeners go and find out more about you?
If you want to know more about me personally, just kencox.com. That's gets you all my socials and my goofiness.
Your goofiness, maybe more shirts. Go check them out.
Yeah.
All right, wherever you're watching or listening, all the links down below in the show notes. Go check them out. See if AI agents are right for you and your business to help you grow without the cost of hiring new employees. See you on tomorrow's episode. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Harmonious at Lunch podcast. Make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you're on, and we want to invite you to join us in the Small Business Success Facebook group, our private group where guests and listeners come together to grow your business. We want impact-driven entrepreneurs who are ready to go to the next level in this group so we can all share ideas, collaborate, and grow our businesses together. Go to whatif.com/group, and we want to invite you to join today. See you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.